Lovely. So welcome to our Solstice Cacao Circle. I'm Fran. It's so lovely to see some familiar faces and to be meeting some new ones as well. Um, it's always so lovely just to connect in. We've just said where we are coming in from, location-wise, and now it would be wonderful just to hear those of you that are on the live call, how you are coming in from your heart today, just where you're at, how you're feeling, what's true for you right now. And then I'll just read those out as they come into the chat box. I know we have some of us from the Southern Hemisphere, some of us from the Northern Hemisphere. And so we might be a little affected by whether it's the deepest part of winter or the deepest part of summer. We'll be together for 60 minutes today. I'll be guiding us through a drinking ritual with cacao, invoking the spirit while we drink her. And then I have some journaling prompts for us just to assist us to acknowledge what's happening. Getting some messages coming in, ready to call back the sun. This clearly is a Southern Hemisphere message. I'm coming in today feeling pretty relaxed, a little slow. Where I am, it's also raining at the moment, so definitely fitting the mood of the energies outside. So when you have typed in where you're at in your heart space and where you're coming to from on the globe, I'm going to invite you to get your candle lit. Now, if you are calling back the sun, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, or you're acknowledging the sun slowly starting to go into less and less light now from now on in days, please light a candle with me. I'll just read the final few comments. And we're just going to acknowledge the element of fire, no matter whether we are north or south on the globe. It's the sun that we are most affected by. And we just have some other comments here coming in with gratitude for this time together, to be warm and dry. Looking forward to this next hour. Me too. I've been very still, reflecting and going inwards, becoming aware of subtle energy shifts within me, feeling wonderful and relaxed. Nice. And then welcome. Hi, everyone, coming in with a feeling of reflection, missing the deep winter and snow of France, but feeling blessed to be here today. Just come to the Cape. There's lots of rain, no snow, but it kind of feels like it's snowing outside at the moment. So welcome, everyone. I just want to introduce you to a very special goddess here. This is the Cacao from Guatemala, and she's the depiction of the goddess of chocolate, and she's with us today in our circle. Right. So we're going to bring our cacao to our heart space, depending on what vessel you have it in. You might want to just touch it to the center of your chest. You might want to place a hand on top of it. You might want to hold it like so, balanced between the left and the right hands, the left and the right hemispheres of the brain and the body. And then start to take the awareness inwards. Take your time if you still need to pour your cacao. So by taking the gaze inwards, we might want to close the eyes as well. Just taking a few deeper breaths here, acknowledging the day you have had up until this point, acknowledging your last few moments in preparation for this call together. Acknowledging how it was preparing your cacao. Was it done quite quickly? Was it done in a very slow, mindful way? And no matter how that was for you, just welcome yourself now into this moment fully with your cup of cacao between your hands, with the candle lit, acknowledging the element of fire, acknowledging the sun. We're going to infuse our cacao just with a little bit more of this fire energy. We're just going to lift the head just a little bit so we can breathe in from above And then bow the head down to the cup and physically blow into the top of the cup. We're going to do this another 2 times, just really connecting into sun energy from above. As you exhale in your own time, blowing it into your cup. And now just in your own way, 1 more of those. Really connecting into fire element, sun, into the cup. Bring the cup up to your nose and just smell the cacao. Take in any information just through the sense of smell before we take a sip. Now that we've infused the sun and the fire energy into the cacao, we're going to listen. We're going to listen to what the sun has to tell us. So take a sip into your mouth. Try hold it there just for a moment. And have the intention now of listening to what the sun has to tell you. I'm going to swallow that sip eventually. Some of you might want to take a bit longer with the cacao in your mouth, swirl it around a bit. We're going to pause after this first sip, following the cacao eventually down into the heart space, as if you could drink it down into the center of the heart. Allow the heart to open, medicine for the heart, soothing it, cleansing it. And now listen to that space as you drop that inquiry in. What does the sun have to tell me? Before we take another sip, we're going to take a deep breath in and just hold it as we listen to the heart. So breathing in. Try hold the breath. Relax the shoulders. And then exhale. I invite you now to hold your awareness on the heart the whole time as we prepare for another sip like that. We're going to do the same thing now that you've seen me do it and you've heard me and you've done it yourself. Try to do this with the eyes closed, completely present as you listen to the heart space, as you lift your head, breathing in from above. And then bowing the head down and just breathing out into the top of the cup, infusing sun energy. 2 more times like that, lifting the head. Just go to your own rhythm. Exhale into the cup as you bow the head. 1 more in your own time. You can eventually bring the cup up to your nose, just repeating what we did. Smell the cacao. Keep listening to the heart. And then take a sip into the mouth as you ask that question again. What does the sun have to tell me today? Whenever you are ready to swallow, keep the awareness in the heart space and just pause now. I invite you to continue sipping like this. You don't have to do the whole breathing part at the beginning, but just the slow, mindful sips, listening to your heart as I invoke in the spirit of cacao, just with the cacao invocation. You're welcome to also sing along if you know this version. Otherwise, just enjoy your cacao and keep listening. What does the sun have to tell you today? We call upon Ish Cacao to assist us to open up and listen from the heart so that we can step forwards into our life with more compassion and love, kindness, forgiveness, to show up to the messages that we receive. Cacaucito la medicina, cacaucito la iririri. Cacaucito la medicina, cacaucito la iririri. Cura, cura, cuerpecito, cura, cura, la iririri. Limpia, limpia limpia Espiritito, limpia, limpia la iririri. Cacaucito la medicina, cacaucito la iririri. Cacaucito la medicina, cacaucito la iririri. Cura, cura, cuerpecito, cura, cura, la iririri. Limpia, limpia, espiritito, limpia, limpia, la iririri. La iririri. La iririri. Just as we infuse more of the spirit into the heart space, I invite you to take a breath in with me and just hold it. And while we hold the breath and relax the body, we acknowledge not only the fire, but the elements of earth, water, air, and ether. And then exhale. Just going to have another moment of some sacred pause. Just really listening in. Feeling in. And just dropping and being. We're going to hold this sacred pause for a little bit longer for those who would like to find their journals and just write down anything that came to them. You're welcome to do that now. Otherwise, if you'd rather just continue to sit and listen and reflect in your mind, that's also fine. Just using the next few minutes just to acknowledge whatever came up for us from the sun, from our hearts. Cacaucito la medicina. Cacaucito la iririri. Cacaucito la medicina. Cacaucito la iririri. Cura, cura, cura. Besito, cura, cura, la iririri. Limpia, limpia, espiritito, limpia, limpia, la iririri. Cacaucito, la medicina. Cacaucito, la iririri. Cacaucito, la medicina. Cacaucito, la iririri. And into that journaling, just a prompt that might be supportive is to ask yourself, with the element of fire right now in my life, which the sun obviously represents, but inside you, your lifestyle, your actions, work, family life, projects, where is there an imbalance in the fire energy, either too much or too little? So just write that or meditate on that just for a moment. And from that space, we're going to leave it there for now and just bring a hand to the heart and a hand just lower down to the solar plexus. So just below those ribs, above the navel though, above the stomach. And again, you might want to close your eyes here and just really feel into the touch of the hands on the body. And for this, make that touch pretty firm. So really, as if you could really hug yourself with those hands, really feel that support, feel the heat maybe coming through your clothes. And then take some breaths so you can feel your body moving and responding. It's because of the fire element that you are alive. Perhaps now after some cacao, you can really feel your heartbeat. And it's because of that fire that sits there where the lower hand is inside, the solar plexus. It's that fire that gives the action and the igniting force into the heart. That's the seat of our inner power. And really feeling yourself now, heartbeat, powerful, strong body, strong spirit. Just know that that fire element is always going to burn, is always going to beat, is always going to take action. It's always going to keep you alive. That's its job. And sometimes, if we don't allow some place of rest in our life, we even have the saying of, I'm hitting a burnout, too much fire, too much on the go, and we might just need to pull back. And if we take this out to nature again, we understand that after summer comes another phase, especially if we live away from the equator. We're going to have other seasons. We don't have summer all the time. We don't have long days all the time. We don't have heat all the time. We need the opposite to balance it out. Just like after the day, there is the night. So, in your reflections, if you have had an awareness come up around too much fire, too much on the go, I invite you now just to say to yourself, it's okay. The fire element has just been doing its job, and I thank it. I thank my inner power. Any of these phrases or words, rather than berating ourselves, let's just say thank you. Thank you for beating. Thank you for shining. Thank you for heating. Thank you for doing. Thank you for action. And when working with cacao, we understand that balance is always important, just like in nature. And so we're going to move that bottom hand now to be on top of the other one so that both of them are resting on the heart, and soften that touch now. We often refer to the heart space being very much of the water element because of its emotional aspect. And into this space now, we're going to acknowledge the moon coming into its fullness. And the moon is also represented by the water element. When there's too much fire, the water will cool, the water will soothe. And we don't want to put that fire out forever. We just want to take those flames that are maybe burning out of control and just take them down to some simmering embers for a while. So allow yourself to breathe in and out of the heart space as you invoke in some water, some slowing down, some rest. And even if you're finding yourself pretty balanced at the moment, we just acknowledge the water element being that opposition to the fire in a balanced way. And so we call in the moon, we call in the water, just to bring a balance to the fire. I'm going to ask you the same thing now, just to listen into what the moon has to tell you. And maybe it's just listening to your heart, but maybe it's actually lifting the gaze slightly with the eyes still closed, lifting the head, just so we acknowledge above Grandmother Moon, the wisdom that she holds, and just start to listen, whether it's into the heart or from above. Mother, I feel you. Mother, I feel you. Grandmothers, I hear you. Grandmothers, I hear you. Sisters, I feel you. Sisters, I feel you. Grandmothers, I hear you. Grandmothers, I hear you. Now we're all going to take another deep breath in and just hold it for a moment, bowing the head down to the heart space and then just blowing on the hands and on the heart. We'll do that one more time. So lifting the head, the eyes can remain closed, breathing in from the moon energy from above. And then lowering the head down and blowing onto the heart space. And just do this one more time. Breathing in from above and bringing that energy down into the heart space with the breath out. Keeping the eyes closed as you bring the hands together, just start to rub them. And then just lightly placing the hands over the eyes as you blink the eyes open to take the light in quite gently. Lowering the hands down, and the same thing now if you have your journal, just to journal whatever came up for you now, either in balance, in response to the balance of the fire, or whatever the moon had to tell you. We'll just have a bit of time now, just in silence. Have about 20 to 30 more seconds, so just wrapping up that thought, knowing you can always come back to this a bit later. So I'd love to hear if anything came up that anybody wants to share. Please don't feel you have to, but if you would like to just unmute yourself and just share from your heart anything that came up for you. Maggie.
Is that right? Or say?
No, please speak. Please speak. Lovely to hear your voice and lovely to see you again.
I just wrote a sort of haiku, which was the moon reflecting shyly across the water, shimmering brightly, fleeting, hiding, strong.
Wow. Beautiful. Is there any particular symbolic interpretation you would like to give of that?
And I think it's just the pleasure that the moon gives me, and tomorrow night I hope to be swimming as she comes up.
Wow.
With the water reflecting on the water if there's no clouds.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I remember Margie's done our cacao training, and I remember you did a haiku as well in one of our sessions, and it was just so lovely. Such a lovely way of listening and interpreting messages rather than just speaking and being very much in the headspace. And it's using the other side of the brain quite a bit. Thank you, Margie. Anybody else? Letitia.
Hi, everyone. So after my first sip of cacao, I wrote here, the cacao tastes like earth. It tastes like hope, and it makes me feel connected and grounded. It's a reminder of who I am and where I am from, because I'm born as the earth. And the message from the moon was just be still and listen, be still and know, be still and feel. So
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Letitia. That you've given me something to actually speak to, but I'll just see if anybody else wants to share first. Thank you so much. Anybody else like to share? SD.
I got a very beautiful message from the sun, and I would love to share that with you. When we checked in with the sun's message, the message that I got was, I've always been here. It's all just a cycle, and I'm in everything that you touch.
Yeah, powerful. And that's so true. I mean, the sun energy is in absolutely everything, everything living. So thank you, Esty. Thank you for the message from the sun. Yeah. Anybody else? Please, if there is another share, just interrupt me or put a hand up electronically or physically, and you're welcome to. I just wanted to, I was going to speak anyways to the other elements. Letitia beat me to it, mentioning the earth. And I've got to remind myself how fortunate I am every day. I'm very grateful every day, but how fortunate I am to have found cacao in my life and to have this medicine that I connect to, whether it's physically or energetically every day. And she is so grounding. She is so, so grounding. And those of you who have either explored or know about other plant medicines, where she comes from in the Latin Americas, that can obviously often have a connotation of, oh, it must be hallucinogenic or psychedelic. But the message of cacao is that she wants us to be embodied and be in the heart. And so she is taking the very physical nature of her, of the earth element as a tree, which the other medicines are as well, but of the earth. And she's asking us to connect into the physical body, our physical temple, rather than trying to transcend the human experience to be completely in the human experience. And if the school of thought works for you, this belief, then take it. If it doesn't, you can just let it go. The understanding that we are spirit and we came here for a human experience. And that might make it a bit easier to understand the prophecy of Cacao, but also to understand this work of just being human. We're born into dualistic nature of the yin and the yang, of the feminine and the masculine, and there is suffering because of that. And sure, we're always trying to get back, I know in certain Eastern philosophies, always trying to get back to the connection of those two again, to what yoga, the root word of that, yog, of union. But we have chosen to have this human experience, to have the full human experience, which comes with a lot of emotions as well. So when we work with Cacao and we go into the heart space, we're able to just be there and notice what comes up and hold ourselves with compassion, whether it's through grief, through sadness, through anger, through rage, through happiness, through a feeling of connection and support and nurturing, just any emotions around those scenarios that are brought up. She helps us to be there and to feel it rather than to bypass it, or rather than to try and transcend the experience. And so, of course, if we're having a moment of happiness and joy, just be present for that. Be part of that human experience. You don't have to go and deny yourself that. But then on the other side, the more uncomfortable experiences being a human, when we're feeling sad, disconnected, lonely, in grief, it's also the same thing. Sit there and be present with ourselves. And it can be so helpful just to place a hand on the heart at those times. We can even be in the car somewhere driving, just to place a hand on the heart and be present for ourselves, hold ourselves with compassion, kindness, and love, because our spirit came here to also have that experience. And sure, indirectly, it does make those times a little easier, although the point is not to make life easy, but it does indirectly make it a bit easier for us rather than resisting those moments, because part of being human is we're going to have the whole spectrum if our spirit really wants to have the full experience of being human. So coming back to Mama Cacao, as I refer to her, the spirit of Cacao, being so embodied, so much of the earth element. So when we are working in a sacred way with Cacao, we're not only going to invoke the fire like we're doing with the sun, or the water as we do with the moon, but also the earth, because she is that. And so we start to take care of Mother Earth a little bit more, take care of ourselves a little bit more, really honor this very physical nature that we are born into. And then, of course, the air. And so we worked with the breath already, just taking the breath in from the sun or from the moon, and blowing it into our cup. It could be so simple. And you can do this with some water, with a cup of tea as well. It doesn't have to always be with cacao. Just very intentionally working with the air element that comes in and out of the body. And those of you who have sat with me, most of you on the call actually have sat through a training or a ceremony. You'll know that I'm very big on bringing in the elements in the beginning, and we definitely use the breath with our intention from the heart, sometimes breathing into the heart, listening to that intention if there is one, or just bringing in the qualities of the heart, and then into the cup of cacao that way. So really just, it can be so simple. Lighting a candle, hand onto the heart for water, fire from the candle, obviously. Connect to the breath, there's the air element. Just feel how you are physically. Feel where you're connecting to the chair or the ground underneath you. Ultimately, we all, with gravity, are connected to the earth herself. So just bringing in all the elements. And then, of course, the solstice. Yesterday, Northern Hemisphere, you are having your longest day, and Southern Hemisphere, we're having our shortest day. And it's going to change in 6 months' time. And so we acknowledge these times of the relationship of earth and sun, fire element and earth element. And then with the moon, that's a bit more regular. As the moon travels around the earth, we get the phases of the moon as well. So at the moment, full moon. And in 2 weeks' time, we're going to have the opposite. We're going to have the dark moon or the new moon. And so we can acknowledge, working with our cacao rituals, we can acknowledge when the moon is in darkness or when the moon is in light. And then 4 times a year, obviously working with the solar cycle. And when they align, which they often do, so the equinoxes is when it's equal, and then solstice when it's polar. So those 4 days of the year, and then twice a month, you can be working with the moon. And just to, in those moments, so simple, just sit, have some time for yourself and acknowledge the elements, because they're always at play, but it's a different kind of ingredient combination for that particular recipe of that particular energy. And then to ask yourself, what does this have to tell me? Can I start to listen to the world around me, be in communication, be in relationship with the spaces around me, which ultimately is actually the spaces in us as well, because we also have those in us. So there's nothing else to share right now. I'm going to take you into a bit of a guided meditation. This one you can also do with your eyes closed. And this is just to acknowledge the elements in general, and then we'll go more specifically to how they are linking up in exactly this timeline of today. So please enjoy your cacao if you still have some. Move around if you need to, of course, get comfortable. And then if it's helpful, closing the eyes. And let's just connect into the breath. There's the air element right there. How simple acts of sacredness can be as we connect in to the cycle of exhaling, air leaving the body, and inhaling, air entering the body. And those of you who are familiar with the reciprocal breathing with plants, you're welcome to start that already. And those of you who are not, I invite you just think that you're sitting in front of a tree or a plant. It might be easier if you can just visualize leaves right in front of you. And just take yourself back to your biology lessons when you were younger, learning about photosynthesis and how plants need oxygen for photosynthesis. They also need carbon dioxide, and this changes from day to night. But during the day, they take in the carbon dioxide that we are breathing out. They photosynthesize, and one of their byproducts then is oxygen. This is during the day. And we take that in when we breathe in. That's what our cells use. And so we can think of receiving from the plants our breath in, that oxygen. And now we know as well that when we breathe out, it's mainly carbon dioxide, and that's what the plants need. So let's give it back to the plants. Imagine them breathing in, using that. And as they breathe out, we breathe in. And as we breathe out, they breathe in. So what is toxic to us becomes medicine to them. And what is toxic to them becomes medicine to us. This exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. I invite you now, just in silence, have a few breath cycles like that. Sacred reciprocity, breathing with nature. And so we give thanks. There is such a wisdom in this plant that you are breathing with, just like there is such wisdom in the cells of your body. And so we can connect into the element of earth now. Bring your next breath in and just hold it for a moment in your lungs. Exhaling it when you need to. Taking your awareness to the edge of the alveoli in the lungs, or just imagine them. Do that again, breathing in and just holding the breath. Become aware of that expansion inside you in the chest and the lungs. When you need to exhale, I'm just going to ask you to do one more breath like that. When you are next holding the breath in, become aware of the oxygen that's going to go from the lungs into the blood, and the same exchange at the same time, carbon dioxide going from the blood into the lungs. Gaseous exchange happening, and when you exhale, you just breathe out the toxins. Become aware of your chest, your lungs. And all the capillaries around the lungs that are now receiving, as you breathe in, just each time you breathe in, they're receiving this fresh oxygen. And so this fresh oxygenated blood pretty quickly is transported throughout your entire body as your heart beats strongly now from the cacao. The cacao has the theobromine in it, which allows these arteries and vessels to just relax a little and dilate, widen, so that more of this beautiful oxygenated blood can be carried around the body, improving our circulation, improving our breathing, and improving all the other systems and functions in the body. And all of this is happening without us even needing to be conscious of it. There's such wisdom that is inside us. And while this blood is traveling throughout the body, it now has all the wonderful benefits of the cacao in it as well. There's iron, magnesium, calcium, zinc. Certain neurotransmitters are being released as well as the blood flows through the brain, and the brain releases serotonin and dopamine and anandamide. Now, we don't even have to know what all this does for us, just all these benefits. The cells will take as the blood flows through the body, and the cells will take what they need and leave behind what they don't. So right down to the trillion and trillions of cells, each unit has a function and it knows exactly what to do. This is the miracle of you being alive in a physical, earthbound body. There is such a wisdom here, and it's the same out in Mother Nature. How every piece of the ecosystem has a part to play, and it just knows what to do. And so if you can now connect into the breath and the body, the blood moving around, feel the physical nature of your form, feel the connection downwards to Mother Earth. And let's bring a hand to the heart again. As we just start to connect into how we are feeling right now in this moment. How are our emotions? Are there any particular thoughts? All of this also flows like water in the mind. When we place a hand on the heart, though, we can remember to be aware of mind, but not caught up with too much thinking. So we allow for the flow of thoughts, come and go. And we also drop into how we are feeling in the heart space. And we just acknowledge, we notice that we have had many, many feelings in the past. We have had moments of happiness and sadness. We've experienced a whole range on that spectrum, from deep, deep loss to incredible joy. And there will be more in the future. But right now, we can just acknowledge whatever we are experiencing, it will also pass. So if it's something relatively neutral, be with it. If it's something a little uncomfortable, be with it. And if it's something comfortable, enjoy it. We acknowledge the moon in her fullness, shining into all the corners where nothing can hide. Shining brightness onto maybe some shadow aspects, so we can start to see more of our true nature, understand that in our shadow lies our gold. And just allowing, like the tides in the ocean, like the rains that come and go from the sky, and the moon in her phases, just allow the waters of the heart to flow. and allowing the spirit of cacao to detox the spiritual heart as we feel and as we allow any emotions to pass through. We're going to bring the other hand down to the solar plexus again. So both hands on the body now. Just keep them resting gently. As we come back to that fire, that inner power, that part of you that makes you so unique, that essence, that seed and that spark. And sometimes it's just a little bit of ember. Sometimes it burns bright. And just like the sun passes through the seasons, and just like the day goes into night, we can also allow for some flow in the fire element, knowing when that fire needs to burn brighter, knowing when it needs to just dim slightly. Know that you have everything you need inside you. So my invitation for you today, going forwards into the next phase of your life, is to listen to the fire. Listen to the space deep inside you, in your core. Allow it to shine. Let it shine upwards into the heart space so that it can be balanced out by the feeling and by the water, so that by the time it moves further up into the throat area of expression, of perhaps then taking the manifestation of its fire and water together, it's in balance. In this lifetime, we are first physical. We are in the body. So acknowledge your physical form as you sit here. Acknowledge that connection to the chair or the floor underneath you. Just really lower root chakra, earth, solid. Then take your awareness up to your lower hand on your solar plexus, your fire. That inner power that gives rise to action. And take the awareness up to the hand on the heart, the water and the emotion, the compassion and the love that the fire can move through and be infused by before it moves up to the throat and the air, not only throat but also lungs. Breathe. Breathe now and connect into all parts of you, all of these elements. And when we combine them all together, we remember that we are spirit. So I invite you just to bow your head down to your hands, to your body, to your breath, to your heart, to your fire, and to your earth. And just know that you are spirit. You have everything you need in this life for the reason that you are here. You are exactly where you need to be on your journey right now. And our biggest job is probably to just trust. Listen one more time to your heart. Listen for any particular message. Listen for any resolve or intention with which to go into the next phase. And as you listen here, I'm just going to sing an invocation to the elements. You're welcome to get a bit more relaxed. Otherwise, just keep your form, hands on heart and solar plexus. Earth, my body, water, my blood, air, my breath, and fire, my spirit. Earth, my body, water, my blood, air, my breath, and fire, my spirit. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Let's take a deep breath in together, holding it as you acknowledge ether, air, water, fire, and earth. And when you exhale, bring your hands together, rub them again, start to deepen your breath. Maybe wriggle your toes just to feel your feet, feel your whole body now as you place the hands over the eyes again, blinking the eyes open, and then lower them down. Last time now, taking your journal and just writing down that final message that came. Maybe it's a repeat of what you already heard. Maybe it's something new. Just a final moment here. And then again, it would be wonderful just to hear what has come up for you. Often in these collective spaces, what's true for us by this stage of sitting in a sacred container together, what's true for us might be true for somebody else, or might be something that somebody else needs to hear. So if you do feel comfortable sharing, then please do. If it's not what came up for you, perhaps just how you're feeling now, or anything you want to take forwards from this time together. I'm not going to force anybody to share, so you could just unmute yourself when or if you are ready. I'd love to hear from you. Is that Eleanor?
To begin for me, it's raining where I am. My name's Tamika as well. I think I joined from my business account. I'm sorry. I couldn't really hear the meditation because the rain started pouring so loudly, but I'm so grateful to be able to be sitting just in the presence of everyone. I felt anxiety come up during the meditation and when I was going inward, but I also managed to breathe that out. And in sitting in the presence of you all, even though I was just hearing the pounding of the rain, I could feel the strength of my body. So that was a good reminder for me today to just feel that strength that is able to breathe out anything that I'm worrying about internally. And yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, and beautiful blessings from the water element there. So fitting with that energy of the full moon as well, and just the flow of the water. Thank you for sharing around the anxiety coming up. What can be super helpful, just this is not just for everybody, just in general, is when you're feeling that, it often is a lot of air element imbalance. And this happens a lot. I also get anxious from time to time. And it's just helpful to remember, okay, how do I balance out air? If there's too much air, because it's a very, it's the lightest in density of the elements. Well, it makes sense then to bring the densest in. So just take your awareness down, 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 down to the earth element and try and actually do something with the body. Another way of saying it is anxiety can often just be very much in the head space rather than a full embodied experience. So if we can do something with the body, it takes our awareness fully into, oh, physically I'm moving my arms now. So a little bit of exercise or a walk or baking. I don't know why I thought of baking because I haven't baked in ages. Painting, just something that you are doing, something creative maybe that you're physically doing with your hands. So the awareness is away from the head space. But otherwise, just to sit and, like you did, breathe out, and often that outward, it's a downward energy. Just to take it down, feel your body connected to the chair or the ground, and just drop the awareness into something earth-based in its element nature, dense energy. So thank you for sharing that, because it's always helpful to talk about anxiety and how we can practically work with it, because it's very real for most people. Anybody else would like to share? Letitia again.
Yeah, I just think it's very beautiful how it's a collective message or something that I also sometimes experience. Because during the meditation, I could feel how I'm dropping out of my head and really just becoming aware of what's going on in my body and becoming aware what's going on in my heart. So I wrote down here that I actually want to write it on my mirror so I can read it every morning to ask myself, where am I living from? Am I living from my heart or am I living from my head? You know, am I thinking about how's my day going to be, or am I feeling into how my day is going to be? And it takes practice because
Yep.
I think I'm an air sign. So I tend to project out and I dream every night. So I live in my head a lot. So it just means that I need to ground even more. So practice and to do some discipline with practice as well.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Letitia. And again, that's just so true. If you know your sign, and being an air sign, it might just mean that you need to, at least you have a consciousness to go forwards with and go, all right, so clearly that means I'm going to have a lot of this energy. So to be more in balance, and the mind has a great purpose in our life. It's like the fire, when we acknowledge the fire right in the beginning, but if there's too much fire, so being in the head is also good. It helps us to logically process things, but too much in the head. So it's always to remember that you have the gift already, but it's just to keep it in balance. You have the gift of the head and the mind and air. It's just to balance it out now. So it sounds like you're spot on. And I just want to say Letitia's coming to Bali with us. So it's very exciting that we'll be seeing each other and experiencing all the elements there very soon. So looking forward to that as well. Any other shares from the session today? Our solstice and full moon balance. It's a gentle, gentle circle, and that's also great. Please don't feel you have to. If there's nobody else that feels called to share, I'm going to just draw a card in closing. It's from a beautiful deck that I know you can get on Amazon. If you have an Amazon account in South Africa, or if you are in Europe or the States, then yay for you. But this one I actually got when I visited the shop when I was recently on my way to Guatemala for my own cacao pilgrimage, but I happened to stop off in New York and I went to the shop. This might be backwards on Zoom, but if you know Anima Mundi Apothecary and Adriana Ayales, she's from Costa Rica actually, and she's a beautiful, amazing herbalist, works very much with astrology as well as herbalism, like I mentioned, and also very grounded in the spirituality, which I really like. So the cards are just really beautiful. Here's the outside of the card, and each of them have just beautiful pictures of plants. So I'm pulling as a plant card, and then I'll just read the practical application of it, and I'll give you the number. So I'm going to ask Evalda, I'm going to ask you to put your hand up when it's time for me to stop shuffling, and that'll be the card at the top of the deck. Alrighty, thank you. That's an interesting way of doing it. I've never done it that way before. So it's motherwort, number 13, and the word there is strength. There's the picture. Wow, it's really powerful. Very, very powerful. Motherwort, strength, the number 13. So I'm going to read now. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and then we'll close off our session with a final checking into the heart. So just when there is a balance of this in this card, in this energy, it can equal strength. It's the essence of creation and connecting to the creatrix within us, fertility, birth, creativity, inner trust. when there is a depletion in this, it can mean weakness or feeling depleted, an opened heart, so closed off heart, disappointment, disconnection from creation, and a lack of creativity. It's ruled by Venus, so that should also mean quite a bit if you follow astrology. And then just the guidance from this card, like the radiance of a lion's heart, Motherwort's energy builds inner trust and confidence. The lion-hearted Motherwort is representative of the beauty we possess when we own the power of our gifts and creativity. The goddess sits centered as the lion leans on her in a state of peaceful delight, symbolizing the unwavering faith we must keep as we transcend old fears. Venus, her planetary ruler, is a midwife to our happiness, channeling how we accept and transmit our heart's desires. Find new ways to facilitate creativity that honor and reveal your passions and strength. Devote yourself to the fertility of your gifts and courageously accept your divine destiny. So there we have it. If you have it available to you to find your chat box again, then I invite you just to put one word in there, either how you are feeling or something you would like to take forwards from this space into the next phase of your life. So it can be a phrase, it can be a word. If the chat box is difficult to get to, then please don't worry about it. Once you've done that, I invite you to settle in again and close the eyes, as I just closed the session for us. I will also read the words that pop up into the chat box. While doing so, we'll start to connect again into breath, into body, into heart, into fire, into spirit. We acknowledge the sun, the solstice, either the longest day or the shortest day, either the shortest night or the longest night. And in roughly 6 months' time, we will be in the opposite energy. And so within the year, we recognize balance in the fire. This can teach us how to live within us. Perhaps providing more inner winters, perhaps providing more inner springs, autumns, and summers. And we also acknowledge the moon, the waters, and how this can soothe, cleanse, purify, if we allow for the flow of emotions, if we allow for situations, perhaps even relationships, to flow as they need to. And if we recognize the phases of the moon, from fullness that we are in now, to waning, to dark or new, to waxing again into fullness, she can teach us how to be with flow, how to allow for the rhythms of the mind and the heart. So as you breathe into the space of heart, as you breathe into the space of fire, as you breathe into the space of your earth element, your body, we give thanks to Mother Nature for supporting us. And collectively, the words that have come through so far are courage, reconnecting, trust myself, and embrace my journey, to love and be loved, honor and honoring myself. I'm going to add one more word to that as we bring a hand to the heart. Compassion and kindness in the way forward. Compassion and kindness with our thoughts towards ourselves and to others, with our words and with our actions. May we live in right relationship to our heart, to the hearts of others, and to the heart of Mother Nature. Because she is also the sun, the earth, the water, the winds, and the spirit of our own heart. So I invite you once again to take a deep breath in with me. So we acknowledge all these elements and thanks, and in closing of our session, earth, fire, air, water, wind. ether. Exhale. You can do that one more time. Deep breath in. Lifting the head this time as we acknowledge Father Sun, Grandmother Moon. And as you exhale, lower the head down, just blow into the heart, blow down to the earth. And very gently, you can allow the eyes to open. And if your camera is on, just looking around at everybody in our virtual space, perhaps even doing a little bit of a prayer bow or a wave, spirit fingers. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. And I just wish you a beautiful weekend ahead. Perhaps taking some time just to reflect on what came up for you for this session. And please pop me an email if you would like to share anything further. Much love. Mwah.